Hey, everybody. Welcome to the TEConnect podcast. I'm John Martin.
And I'm Dean Reverman.
Dean, on a scale of your favorite leisure activity to, let's say, dental surgery.
Okay.
Is that appropriate scale?
That's a good spectrum.
You can put a nice gauge into. Where would you put finding a parking spot?
Oh, wow.
Whether it's just in a garage, at a sporting event, especially maybe like in a big city somewhere.
Well, I'll answer that by saying that is an evolving spectrum depending on how time sensitive it is and how much I've invested in getting it. Like, sometimes I'll go downtown and I can find a parking spot very quickly. Good experience. Everyone's happy. But you've also had those experiences. You're getting to a game. There's nowhere to park. It's like, and then your anxiety amps up. So I don't know.
The time angle is definitely a big part of it. Also, like huge familiarity too.
Absolutely.
Like I've been to, to your example, like if I go to a Reds game or something, I'm so used to going down there.
You got your go-to spot.
Yeah, I know although that's changed over the years too, to be honest. But even then, to your point, it can still be a little stressful if you're running late, if you're trying to get it on time, if traffic's worse than usual.
And some of this modern stuff that I think we're going to get into, sometimes a little hiccupy. Like, you got to download the app. You got to, and it's like, wait, what are we doing here?
There you go.
15 minutes later, I've missed the opening.
Exactly.
I'm still paying for my
let's
parking.
take those frustrations that we have as drivers dealing with stuff. But imagine what like folks that are managing or running these lots and garages.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's frustrating for them too.
Oh, for sure.
Because they want,
they get complaints.
Their goal is they want people to show up, park in the spots, fill the place up, get plenty of money out of it and get on with their days. So they got a business to run there.
This is true.
So yes, to your point, we are going to talk about smart parking technology today. So the stuff that's making this a little bit, hopefully a little bit easier, and maybe presenting some opportunities for our VARs.
Hey,
we've got John Whiteman from OmniQ on with us today.
Great partner.
They are specialists in parking technology, which I think is so cool when a VAR/ISV has a specialty in something that's a unique niche that we all know that people have to figure out and deal with.
This is like one of those little industries never even think about.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a ton there.
Stuff. So we're gonna talk about the evolution of parking management. We're gonna talk about AI, obviously.
Yes.
I mean,
where hasn't it gone?
You got to talk about AI, and there's obviously a piece that fits in there. We'll talk about where there's hardware opportunities. We'll get into the benefits, obviously, for everybody, so that if you are interested in going out and selling these solutions, you know what to talk about. So
nice.
A lot of fun stuff to cover. So it's time to find a spot that fits your car.
Hey.
And get connected.
Welcome to the TEConnect podcast. It's time to get connected.
All right, as I mentioned, our guest today is John Whiteman. He is the Executive Director of Sales for Parking and Mobility at OmniQ. John, thanks so much for joining us today. We appreciate having you on the show. So tell us a little about yourself, your background, and how does one get to be an expert in all things parking? I'm going to assume you've had those experiences yourself. That's given you a little reason to know what's going on out there.
Yeah. So first of all, Dean and John, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you, TEConnect and BlueStar, which has been a tremendous partner in our company's growth. We've gone through a number of evolutions, acquisitions, name changes, but throughout all of that, one of the core generators of our growth has been our relationship with BlueStar. So I really want to thank you up front for this opportunity. So, one of the strange things about parking is that it's a very small community. And most of the people said, I never went to college for it. I never thought I was going to end up in parking. And through some strange scenario, you ended up in parking for a lifetime and it became a family business and your son and daughter got involved in it.
I was going to ask if there was a degree of some sort, John, some accreditation, but go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there are accreditations given out by the industry. Absolutely. In my case, I started out going to school and university for law enforcement administration, which took a couple twists and turns through security and then into technology and then into CCTV for a dozen years. And I ended up with a company that was selling to a company in parking, and they said, hey, John, why don't you come join us? And I ended up with a small little Israeli startup that was bringing, in those days, license plate recognition technology to the United States. I was employee number one. We had virtually no business here. We weren't in the parking space, and we were trying to find our way home. And that was 2011. And since that time, our growth in parking has been spectacular. We arguably are one of the largest AI LPR providers in the parking space today. In the US alone, we have over 1,500 sites. 10,000 lanes is one of the ways that people look at how much technology you've planted. We're in all of the platinum airports around the country. Dean, you mentioned you were in New York recently, and we're in all 4 of the New York airports. So I don't know if you parked or rented a car, but if you did, you would have experienced some of our technology. But we're coast to coast, JFK to Atlanta to Dallas to LAX and everywhere in between. And we're very proud of the footprint we have within airports, and we continue to help people get from coast to coast in the most efficient manner, playing a small role in the overall transportation of people, goods, and services.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Right? It's just one of these little industries you don't think about, but
everybody needs it.
Well, not only everybody needs it, but I think the more you think about it, everybody knows a parking lot.
Yeah.
Then you probably maybe even know some opportunities with some ownership. And we'll get into that here a little bit.
We're going to talk more about that, obviously.
This is a gem.
No doubt. All right. Well, let's get into this then. Let's talk about the world of parking. And again, I think from the way you framed it here, obviously, clearly there's some interesting examples out there, and there's some interesting growth that's happened out there. So help us out with that. Give us a little bit of the backstory here. What have you seen in your time working in this industry, the evolution of parking management? What does it look like in the past? What kind of challenges are garages facing, and where are we at right now?
Yeah. Well, so if you go way back, before all of our times, in the early 1900s, the industry was created for automated parking. And it was actually the first garage that was automated was in Paris. And they called it automated because you drove your car in and they put it on an elevator and it went up to a different level and somebody drove it off and parked the car. And that was the beginning of the automation phase, which has evolved over the years. And quite frankly, since COVID has tremendously accelerated technology deployment within parking. If you remember, who can forget, COVID drove the no touch, low touch, frictionless concept. QR codes, which have been around for 30 years, all of a sudden became prevalent in parking as a way to make a reservation, as a way to pay for your parking. So there's been more technology developed and deployed in parking in the last 5 years than in the prior 10 or 15. And if you do a little bit of research or you remember history, at one point automation involved a man or a woman sitting at the parking lot with a cigar box, a car pulling in, them taking your $20 or $5, giving you change. And that led to issues about scalability, about cars waiting in line. And of course, one of the major topics amongst parking owners and operators is profitability. And profitability revolves around shrinkage, theft, lost tickets. And I can tell you all kinds of stories about people that came in and said they lost their ticket. And traditional parking owners and operators said, okay, you lost your ticket. I'm sorry for that. You owe for 24 hours. And somebody would say, oh, man, that's $50 in downtown Chicago. But as technology evolved, they were able to identify that vehicle through some of the technologies that we offer today, through the license plate, which is a credential, just as an example. And they could look up that plate number ABC123, actually, who claim they lost their ticket and came in today. They've been there for a week. They've flown out of the airport, and they actually owe $350. So the evolution of technology has made owning and operating parking facilities, both lots and garages, much more profitable than it was just 5 to 10 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I remember those worlds where you got the little attendant out there, and to your point, John, that's not very scalable, right? I mean, you can't, if you're an owner of these facilities, of course, they're still out there. You can't scale that. But to that point, is there a trend in parking? I mean, I made the note, because you start to see, well, I'll call it pop-up parking, but I know that's not the right probably phrase, but in essence, with some technology, you can turn any patch of land into a parking lot, in essence, without the need for the human, with the cigar box and stuff like that, through a lot of the technologies that you guys sell. So scaling seems much easier to do at this point.
It is. And if I could jump around a little bit, one of the latest trends is to go what people are calling ticketless. So the bulk of automation today revolves around pulling into a facility, and there's a machine there, and you press a button. That has evolved. Now you wave your hand, and it does what we call spits a ticket out. You take the ticket. When you pull the ticket, the gate opens, and you're allowed to pull in. There's a lot of inefficiencies in that process because you're dealing with paper, you're dealing with lines being queued up to get a ticket, dealing with a gate opening. And today, one of the things that is capturing imagination and traction is the concept of let's go gateless and let's go ticketless. And let's use technology. Let's use a phone for an advanced reservation. Let's use a QR code in the parking facility to scan and initiate my transaction. Let's use the license plate as a credential to track the time that the vehicle entered and the time that it left and bill accordingly without any human intervention whatsoever. Number one, so that's an evolution of automation, but it's also pushing the industry to the point where you can do this almost anywhere. Like you mentioned, you could put it into your soccer field and do things like enforcement. So a vehicle pulls in, it's paid to park for 2 hours, and through enforcement technology, whether that's a vehicle driving around or an enforcement officer walking around with scanners and handhelds, they can tell if a vehicle's supposed to be there and if it's not supposed to be there, or they've overstayed their time. They can issue a citation. They can do that digitally. They can email it. They can place it on the vehicle. They can, handle it in a very efficient manner that allows facilities that aren't necessarily prepared to take on the prior technology costs to offer parking and to do it in a low-cost manner.
And I think that sets the expectation. My expectation now is not to have that attendant. I'm expecting it to be some type of automated transaction wherever I go to park. And on the scalability, we recently had a stadium that was built here in Cincinnati, TQL Stadium, for our MLS team. And it was put in an area that traditionally did not have a lot of parking. So, now you have opportunities if you were a landowner around there and maybe had a patch of land that was underutilized, you could convert that into some parking spaces and maybe, I'm going to overstate it, parachute in some technology to help automate, some of those processes. So really kind of fascinating how technology has evolved in this wonderful little space here. Right?
Yeah. Well, and to your point, there is a lot of like that interesting little pop-up stuff that happens. I went to the Indy 500. This has probably been about 15, 20 years ago, maybe.
Talk about surge pricing.
Oh yeah. It was fascinating because just in the drive up there, and mind you, I was there like maybe 2 hours. I was on my way there, let's say about 2 hours before the race was supposed to even start. And you get in this massive clog of traffic, but along the way, there are literally people that as you're passing through like neighborhoods who are offering up parking in their front yard.
That happens
like,
at
hey,
the Derby.
You can park right here for like $15 stuff like that or whatever, just random stuff. And then that was even before you got to the lots, which I use that in heavy quotes because it was the same thing as like just giant open fields. But again, this was back then where a couple decades back, it was mostly still just people just taking cash straight up front. There was no automation, there was no unless you happen to snag the actual parking lots nearby, which let's be honest, those were probably all filled up like 36 hours before. I mean, it was fascinating to me to see that and to realize like, man, like there are people that are making a lot of money off of this for these giant events like this. Yeah. And I mean, again, to your point, a new stadium pops up, a new venue pops up, and that opportunity just opens up, and people are going to be like, hey, how can I make this as efficient as possible? Yep. How can I get as much money out of this as possible? And it sounds like we've got some opportunities with technology to get us there. So John, let's talk about then the AI part of this, because I think that's where, again, we get to take this to a whole nother level. Like we know, like, hey, we're adding some automation. We're doing a little less of, someone has to be there to take money from you. But AI, the hot topic around everything these days, is going to take that to another level. So how is that changing the industry? How's it making parking smarter? You mentioned earlier the cameras and the license plate recognition. So what's AI doing to all of this right now?
Yeah, well, in our world, where AI plays is that license plate technology has evolved from the beginning into vehicle identification. And AI and machine learning and training models to recognize not only the license plate, but the state the plate's from, that the plate is on a black Ford Mustang, that black Ford Mustang may have a dent in the right rear corner when it's brought in, is all being enabled by deep learning technology and training these machine vision models to do much more processing and provide much more data about the vehicle and parker than was ever available just a few years ago. And it's made it much more efficient and accurate. So one of the challenges that we have had being a license plate technology company from the get-go was what they call accuracy, right? Everybody wants to know, what's your accuracy of reading the license plate? And in the US, I don't know if you're aware, but there's hundreds of different types of license plates.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just in Florida alone, there's 150.
Right? Yeah,
plates, which makes it crazy. And you've got all of these vanity plates, and you throw in what some of the states have done with what's called non-reflective license plates. So we use a certain technology that allows you to read license plates in any weather, any darkness, and then they went and changed the reflective material so you can't read the license plate. And so AI has played a core role in our industry's development of much more capabilities and improving the accuracy of the read so that we know the vehicle assigned to John and Dean, which is a black Mustang with ABC 123, has entered. And through other technologies like digital signage, we could say, "Good morning, Dean. How's your day going? Would you like a cup of coffee from the Starbucks in 5 minutes, ready for you when you get off the elevator?" So there's a lot of cool things that we're doing with AI, including finding your vehicle. How many times have you gone to an airport and they all look the same, and you've been gone for a week? And I travel in and out of an airport at least every other week, and I'm like, yeah, where did I park my car this time? And through our technology of not only recognizing the vehicle, but knowing when it came in and where it's at, importantly, like when you're talking about flying in and out of New York, there's multiple lots that you could have parked in. And one day you parked here, but another day you parked somewhere else. We can immediately go to a kiosk and punch in your license plate or a number. I don't remember, many people don't know when challenged, what is your license plate number? As long as you know a number or a digit, an alphanumeric character and a digit, you can put in those two characters and be provided a list of all of these vehicles. And you say, yes, that is my black Ford Mustang. And I did arrive on Tuesday, and I'm in the blue lot, level 2, space 55.
That's good stuff. Another part of the AI that I found fascinating on your website is the digital tire chalking. I'm sure you're using maybe some machine vision on that one. And I was reminiscing on it because I was just recently in New York City and saw the ubiquitous tire boot, you know, on the tire. And that, I'm like, oh man, that car clearly hasn't moved in a long time, and they're going to have to pay a hefty fine to get that boot off of there. So is that another area, right? The machine vision? Yeah.
So absolutely. You're touching on some of the areas that have been key to our organization's growth over the years. So when we started, we were mainly involved in what I would call off-street parking, which are what you guys know as lots and garages.
Yeah.
But there's one heck of a lot of parking that occurs on street. And particularly with municipalities and campuses like universities, they're very concerned with controlling the on-street flow, the length of time that people park. And what we've brought to the table are a platform, a cloud-based platform that can not only read the license plate, which was in our original wheelhouse, but by adding another sensor to our technology, to a vehicle driving up and down the street, we not only grab the license plate, but we digitally chalk the valve stem. And when that vehicle continues its patrol, whether it's on a law enforcement vehicle or a parking enforcement vehicle, and they read a plate the second time, in the background, we're matching where the valve stem is. And if that valve stem hasn't moved and the vehicle has been there for 4 days, let's say, theoretically, an enforcement action is triggered, an alert to the driver, and they follow a process of either issuing a citation or placing a boot on the vehicle, depending on how many citations that particular vehicle owner may have.
Hey, John, we're talking a lot of, front, what I would call front of house, and typically in retail. But are you using AI, and how does your solution address like the owner? Do you have dashboards that the owner of these parking lots can go in and they can see? I'm imagining, revenues or things of that nature. Number one. Number two, do you get into what I would call, I don't know what the industry calls it, but different pricing depending on surge. In the reality, I mean, can you allow like parking operators to modify how much a particular spot goes for depending on demand? I mean, are we getting this sophisticated with parking technology?
Yeah. So you asked a couple questions there. I'll try to answer the last one first, which was really related to surge pricing, to event parking, as an example, to what happens in the morning when the facility fills up between 8 and 10. Do you want to charge more as the spots become scarcer? And we absolutely provide technology platform that can tell you the occupancy, that can tell you when you're approaching a certain level of occupancy, so that when that level is hit, a surge is kicked in to increase the hourly rate. And we could just program it also. Sometimes a downtown facility, which would normally be vacant on Saturday night, is having a concert nearby. And there's going to be an event. And so that an event regulation or process can be enabled in the software to charge a specific amount on Saturday night between 6 p.m. and 12 p.m. And whether it's $50 or $12, that's up to the owner operator how they want to charge for that event. But that would be in addition to and outside the normal parking rates. But very scalable.
Yeah. And I imagine, because, I think about like golf tee times and stuff like that. All this stuff is getting very, very sophisticated depending on demand and other factors. And so it seems intuitive that maybe you had some AI in the back end too.
Yeah, definitely. John, I have a random side question for you here too. Like thinking about the whole, smart car revolution and electric vehicles and all these vehicles that are getting smarter than ever, more computerized than ever.
Yep.
I have to imagine that's starting to become a part of this as well. Do you see that being where things are going as more and more people adopt these smart vehicles, of essentially the vehicle kind of controlling most of this process as well, like where again, not just literally ticketless, but like you don't even have to think twice about what you're doing. You're just driving into a lot, parking, all the background is taken care of. This is your car. This is how much you're getting charged. It's already being taken care of through the vehicle. Like, is that where we're going with this? Like, is there going to be another shift kind of in what these garages can do as more and more people adopt these smart vehicles too?
Yeah. I guess I kind of come out of this on seeing two sides. One is the evolution of smart vehicles and/or companies like Waymo, that's I believe it's owned by Google, which is like a robotaxi. And that concept is that, people park at the outer rim of a city in a big open area, a big open field, and these robo taxis can bring people into the heart, drop them off, and not utilize the parking garage or the parking structures. And you actually saw some owners and operators start to evolve, with concepts called ghost kitchens in their garage, that they started leasing out their space to provide food platforms and platforms for the e-bikes and the scooters, and looking at new and creative ways how they were going to use this key piece of property that was, and especially during COVID, unfortunately enjoying less and less parking traffic. I do see that type of AI technology with um, robo taxis, and then I think the other side of the coin is, you were mentioning EV and vehicles, and almost every site that you go to today has an EV charger, right? And it's big business. And the industry is struggling to get enough EV chargers out there to keep up with the demand of the EV owners. And actually, now you're seeing with the cold temperatures, people are complaining about the battery isn't taking the vehicle as far, so there's a backup at the EV charger. And how are we going to address that? So there's challenges that are brought about by this EV evolution, and the U.S. Today is not fully prepared to go totally EV. It's not going to happen over the course of the next 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, I mean,
BlueStar's going to help you out with that.
We've developed a business on EV charging. Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, there's an opportunity there. I mean, to John's point, that's kind of a backdoor way of BlueStar kind of getting into some parking technology is through our EV technology. Yeah,
I think you'd be at this point, you'd be doing yourself a disservice if you have a lot or a garage that doesn't have some charging stations in it. At least have a couple in there, like it's
absolutely.
It's one of those things like, whether you think you're going to use it enough or not, trust me, you should have it. Because again, and we've talked about this when we talked about EV charging in the past, that the folks that are doing that have those vehicles are usually tapped into networks that's whole job is to help find where these charging stations are.
That's right.
And if you don't have one, you're not on the network, and that's why you're not seeing the vehicles showing up.
That's
because they know to skip you because you don't have that offering for them.
Exactly.
So. All right, well, John, let's talk about the hardware side of things here. And obviously, I know you guys focus a lot on the cameras and the ticket stations. It's a big part of what you sell as part of your solutions. But for our VARs that maybe you're interested in doing this, they might partner up with you, but they're thinking like, well, what am I going to get out of this from a hardware side myself? What other kind of hardware opportunities will they have when they go out and help deploy a smart parking solution? Are we talking mobile computers, tablets, digital signage? Like, what other stuff can
all
they
of that?
sell?
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, that's part of what we sell today through our network is BlueStar provided tablets for handheld scanning, like we were talking about enforcement in municipalities and streets and parking enforcement officers scanning vehicles and license plates. And we do that through tablets. We do it through small mobile computers. There's digital signing in almost every garage. There's RFID. There is auto ID. There is lighting. There is so much technology in addition to what we bring to the table. We're, relatively a small cog in the overall wheel of what goes into a parking system. And I would like to separate paid parking from access control, because everywhere you go, everywhere you look, there is parking. And the only differentiator is whether somebody is making money off of it or they're providing it as a service to their employees, visitors, customers. And either way, there is technology that we're both involved with that plays a role. Just in a corporate campus, a corporate office, there's access control, RFID, there are intercoms, there is digital signage, there is credentials. And we happen to be in the license plate credential business, but it's usually, and it would be odd to only use a license plate. Almost everywhere we go, there is a first and second credential, of which we only play with one of them. And so BlueStar has a number of the other credentials within their house. And so when a VAR goes to a particular facility that offers parking, whether it's a corporate office campus or a paid parking lot or garage in a downtown area, there's a lot of technology that VAR has access to due to the BlueStar relationship and through us.
Yeah, and like I said, well, as we already talked about, the note I had here is EV and some of the other expanding things. It's interesting, and I don't know if you see this, John, but a lot of our resellers have relationships, and we always talk about that with their customers, and they're just looking for ways to, what other technology can I deploy to improve my relationship with my existing customers, and that's why I think this information is important, because now they can see that there's a whole other a world out there. And you work with other resellers, John. Is that a true statement? Like if you had a partner over in California or something like that, and they wanted to resell some of your technologies that you guys have developed, that's okay, right?
Yes. So our channel strategy is mostly like 98% of our overall revenue is driven through VARs, resellers. So we don't sell our technology direct and go out and install it. We count on resellers and VARs that have the boots on the ground that can go out and install and bolt down, maybe cut loops or use, we have a new software technology that replaces in-ground loops with software triggers that, can alert the system that a vehicle is present. But there's a lot of ways that the VARs can make money, both from a resale hardware perspective, from an installation perspective, and then the ongoing SLA, support level agreements, that are required, along with recurring revenue based on usage of our cloud platform for digital permits at a university. I think one of the earlier questions that I didn't really answer is about a dashboard, right? And we have an online dashboard that customers, a homeowner and an administrator can go to see their permit. Where are they allowed to park? How much does it cost them on a monthly, annual, weekly basis to park in one lot versus another lot? How much have I spent in the past? What's the record of my citations? How much do I owe? Oh, I need to pay that one, or I need to contest it and go through a contingency process where that really wasn't my vehicle. And then, the owner of the property, the street, the university says, oh, here's a picture of your vehicle parked in front of the fire hydrant, so you owe $250. So we have all of that dashboard available as a SaaS model that we share with our VARs.
See, that's brilliant right there. I mean, so there is, I guess, an answer to a question we were going to ask.
Yeah.
There's opportunities here to get recurring revenue. Yeah. I think John just did a fantastic job of laying out the opportunity in my mind of what is there for the value added reseller or solution integrator that has these relationships with the universities, the hospitals, the folks that have parking facilities, and there's just a wonderful opportunity.
Yeah, I agree.
And easier to install, like you said, John. Like a lot of this is becoming camera technology and things like that. You don't, what is it, gateless? I guess you don't need to put in these types of things.
You don't need the gate dispenser.
Right.
Do a lot, most of it through software.
Yeah. It's brilliant. Good stuff.
I agree.
Yep.
Well, then, hey, to your point, that answers my last question here, which is about the recurring revenue possibilities. And it sounds like we've got this SaaS model in place, which Dean and I, it's our favorite things to hear about.
Who doesn't like a check coming in the mail every month?
Exactly. Anytime we can offer up ideas for recurring revenue, that's gold to us, because we think that's what all of our partners should be doing. Is out there trying to figure out how to have a nice base of ongoing revenue they're driving.
For sure. Yeah.
So all right, well then we'll shift over before we get to our value to the VAR, where we'll talk a little bit about, again, how VARs can get interested in these opportunities, how they can partner up with OmniQ. Want to, as always, thank our sponsors here on the show. And again, we are kicking off a new season here.
Yes.
So I want to rattle off a few of our partners, both new and old, that are supporting our show. We've got Elo, Zebra, DataLogic, Epson, Honeywell, and Wasp. There may be more to come as we go down the road here, but those are the ones who've already committed to supporting our TEConnect program, which not only helps create an ISV community that helps them enter the channel and connect with vendors and VARs, but it also they're also supporting initiatives like our podcast to educate and inform our partners as well. So thank you so much to all of those vendors for supporting us. We appreciate them.
Yep.
And we'll be hearing more from them and the folks that work with them throughout the year as well. Of course, if you like the show, if you're interested in the show, the best thing you can always do is somehow give us some sort of feedback in some way. Or provide some kind of a review, like the episode, subscribe. It's the kind of stuff that helps us grow and helps us build and helps new folks find the show. Obviously, any opportunity you have to share an episode, if you like what you heard about something, if you're listening to this episode and like, man, this is some really cool stuff, I'm going to share this with my colleague. Please do that kind of stuff. And of course, also let us know what you want to hear about on the show.
Yeah.
This show only works if we're doing stuff that you guys are appreciating, that you're enjoying, that you like listening to, that
Drop
are
us an
topics that
idea.
are relevant.
That's right. Yeah.
Send an idea, and there's always a link in the show notes where you can send ideas to us. We'll send you a T-shirt just for doing that.
Hey.
You need to get on our new T-shirt for this year.
Yes.
Let's go look. Hey, if you got a suggestion for what our T-shirt should have on it, send that in too.
I got an idea. Okay, great.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, send it in, Dean. Send it in, and you'll get a T-shirt of the T-shirt that you're recommending.
There it is.
And as always, if you want to stay in touch with us, you can always email us, TEConnect@BlueStarInc.com, or follow BlueStar on LinkedIn. All right, let's wrap up today. First of all, with our value to the VAR.
Yeah.
Our way of kind of giving a little bit of a takeaway to our audience.
I think there's some value here.
I think there is too. And again, this is one of those things I feel like, if you've got the opportunity, the options for opportunities here, there's no reason not to pursue them. So, John, let's talk about that. Where should VARs that are interested in parking opportunities begin? Who should they be talking to? How does OmniQ fit into that process? And then talk a little bit about what they gain by working with you also. You mentioned a little bit of the SaaS model of recurring revenue, but give us a little more detail on that.
Sure. So I like to start close to home. And by that, what I mean is all of our partners and BlueStar partners, and you have thousands of them. And by the way, I'll also mention that we're a global company, as BlueStar is, and we have VARs throughout the world. We're bigger in some countries than others, and we're always looking to expand that network. But domestically here, what I would call domestic, the U.S. and Canada, we're always looking to grow our network. And I think that one of the easiest places is your own backyard. And everybody that's going to go out of their house today is going, if they go more than a block, they're going to see some kind of parking lot or facility. And I think you start with your customer base. Which of those customers have an office? Which of them have a parking facility? And it's almost all of them. Like anywhere you go, you're going to see parking. Now, the difference is, do you know the people or do you not know the people, right? So, I like to start with the people that I know, that I'm already having a relationship with. Maybe it's because I'm reselling some of the products you already mentioned, Zebra scanners, handhelds, tablets, computers, and I'm selling it to XYZ technology company. Well, I can assure you that XYZ technology company has parking, and they have a parking challenge that can be addressed by all of the products that are under the BlueStar umbrella, ranging from signage to RFID to bringing in us for AI and license plate recognition and vehicle identification, and creating a smooth transition for a customer or employee to get into and out of a facility in a smooth manner, smooth, low friction transaction, whether that means you're using your phone with an application on it, or it means that you're using a QR code that you scan. There's a lot of technology that's being deployed, and I would encourage our partners and potential partners to look at their existing customers. That's number one. And then as you begin to go from there, you ask, well, who do you talk to? Where do you go? And there's a couple tiers of people. One is owners and operators, right? There are a big couple. As an example of an operator, we do work with a company out of Chicago, billion-dollar organization called SP Plus. They're in every city providing parking services, technology. There's another one called LAS, and every major city has operators that provide services for these parking structures. So even though we've talked a lot about automation, reduction of people, almost every facility still relies on the old fallback of a live human to address issues that come up from a customer service perspective. So you're looking for operators that operate in a particular city. Dozens, if not hundreds of locations is a good place. And then some of the VARs have particular niches with what I call architects and engineers, consultants that are working on projects, and they're looking for VARs and resellers to bring into them for their new structure all of the latest technologies, of which our partners have the most intimate knowledge and the most robust selection of different technologies to choose from to assist these A&Es and consultants in a greenfield design where they want to bring in the latest and greatest.
There you go. And it's easy to work with you guys, right? Would they contact you directly or somebody on your team? Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So obviously, I think you looked at our website www.omniq.com. Very, very simple. And I would be the main contact. Anything that they log in there as far as a query ends up with visibility to myself. And then, we have a sales team that are strategically placed, working virtually around the country, and will distribute those leads based on where a VAR is particularly located. We do like to go out and we like to survey the site, of a person who's interested, and help the VAR. And we always go out with a new partner and assist them with the initial install. I would call it, on the job training, so to speak. Our technology is sold, but there are nuances that only the seasoned people really know. And we go out and train the trainers, both whether it's in their offices or at the actual site at the time, and hold their hand through a successful transition of implementing our new technology to a new customer so that they can scale it and repeat it again and again.
That's awesome. There you go.
Yeah, definitely.
Couldn't ask for a better partner than that. Come on.
No, not at all. And I was thinking the same thing about, that John mentioned about the existing customers going out, talking to people you already know. They're probably going to have, at the very least, if they're not running the parking, they're going to know who does. And I think also this is one of those consultative selling things too, where you want to have some background and some history. Guess what? Any of those customers that do have parking related to their business in some way, they're also going to know a lot of the pain points and the challenges.
Oh, for sure.
Whether it's employees that are trying to figure out how to park themselves, whether they got customers that had trouble parking and are complaining to them. There's going to be good info you're going to be able to get from those customers about the current parking situation that will then help you go to those managers and administrators and talk to them about like what's going on and present to these solutions. So,
Good stuff.
Good stuff there. I like that. Get your own backyard somewhere down the street is probably a parking lot that there might be some opportunity.
Don't have to go too far.
Don't have to go too far.
All right. So, and hey, how often do you get to say that? I mean, like go find an opportunity. It's probably right down the road from you. So,
Literally.
Let's wrap up as always with what's tech connecting with you. This is our fun segment where we get to talk about something in the world of tech, science, innovation, business, discovery, something that's caught our eye we feel like chatting about today. John, I'll let you kick off here. What's tech connecting with you right now?
Yeah, well, recently, over the holiday, I was fortunate enough to get a week away with the family, and everybody got a book. And the book that I picked out was the autobiography of Elon Musk, written by, I think it was Walter Isaacson, who also did the Steve Jobs autobiography. And you think you know Elon Musk, but the autobiography, first of all, it was a fabulous book. But what really connected with me, it resonates in my world with what he's done and doing with AI and machine vision and self-driving cars and robotics and what he's done with EV and Tesla and I've always enjoyed space, and the SpaceX story is quite amazing, and what he's trying to do with the Boring Company, boring tunnels from Las Vegas to LA. I mean, so that really connected with me, and it connected with me on a personal level related to my own industry, what we do with AI, what we do with machine vision, machine learning. And he certainly is one of the drivers behind what's happening with AI. You go back to, he was with Sam Bankman-Fried and founder of OpenAI and wanted it to be open. Now it didn't end up that way. It ended up being more closed than open. And Sam Bankman-Fried took it and made money off of it, which wasn't the idea. But the point is that really connected with me.
Yeah, good stuff there. I don't know that I understand the Boring Company, but all the other technologies that he's involved in, I love it.
Other than it's a fun name for a company it's a literal name, but it also is a fun name because boring.
Double
company.
entendre.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
right. Yes,
I can appreciate that. Well, hey, I like that. We haven't had many book recommendations on the show.
Yes, a book. Yeah, there you go. We need the book club.
If you're looking
the TEConnect book club.
Yeah, if you're looking for a good book to read, the Musk bio gets the seal of approval from John here. So,
yes,
all right, Dean, what about you? What's TEConnecting with you?
We are getting closer to unlimited energy. I know that energy is kind of an issue, right?
Yeah.
The burning of the fossil fuels and trying to figure this all out. Here's the headline: U.S. nuclear fusion lab enters new era, achieving ignition over and over again. So scientists have managed to repeatedly produce nuclear fusion ignition for the first time, making a major milestone towards achieving near limitless clean energy at scale. So apparently there's this laboratory out there in of course, California, and it produced, so what they do is they have 192 laser beams that fire at, and this is where it gets over my head, frozen pellets of isotope held within a diamond capsule suspended in a gold cylinder. Okay. Apparently, when you do that, when you fire the lasers at it, it actually produces more energy than you put into it. So it's this nuclear fusion that's doing that. So it was able to increase the energy spent by 89%. So they're very excited about it. Now, they were only able to produce enough energy to boil a kettle of water in this particular one, but it's a proof of concept. They got it now, and now it's just a question more of kind of scaling, I guess, to a certain degree. Right. So that's pretty exciting. Some of the people involved in it called this a, quote, moment of history by physicists, that work on this, like, hey, this is a big thing. Right. So getting a little bit closer to unlimited energy. I didn't say free. I just said unlimited energy. It's not like going to have one of these in your pocket because it's diamond encapsulated in a gold cylinder. Maybe in your car.
I would say I could raid my wife's jewelry box. Maybe, is there enough that I've spent enough on that stuff over the years? Is there enough there I can get some energy out of it?
I don't know. Maybe Elon's going to put this. What did they call it in Back to the Future? The
flux capacitor.
The flux capacitor. Yeah. Maybe this is the flux capacitor.
Yeah, that could be it.
Yeah, we're getting even closer. What's TEConnecting with you?
Start feeding some bananas in there and see if it gets us running. All right. Well, I'm not going to get anything sophisticated as world-changing technologies and fusion and all that stuff. I'm going to talk about beer.
Oh, even better.
Which can change the world. Can change the world in other ways. So, all right. So this is a story I found on CNBC's Make It page, which talks about a couple of Stanford grads. So Stanford grads created a hangover-free alternative to beer.
Whoa.
In just 4 years, they're on track for $36 million in annual sales.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
So these two guys came together. They
is there an IV bag involved in this?
There's not. No,
Okay,
this
good.
isn't one of those things. Basically, they were like, hey, the hangover thing is an issue, and also we're getting to this point too where, I mean, you and I, as men of a certain age, don't appreciate the hangovers for our own reasons.
Right.
But you've also got a lot of younger folks now who are, indulging in things like, like dry January and these, and are increasingly moving towards, sobriety and away from alcohol and into other stuff, because they're just not interested necessarily in the after effects of alcohol and the potential health detriments of alcohol as well. So there's a big movement towards that may be impacting the beer space in general. So these guys were kind of like, hey, how can we still have some of the fun that comes with this without all the health problems, without all the lingering stuff, without the hangover?
Intrigued.
So they are the co-founders. They're two 35-year-olds. They're the co-founders of a company called CANN, C-A-N-N. It's a beverage startup with a flagship drink that includes 2 milligrams of THC.
Okay.
So a little bit of THC in there, which is obviously the psychoactive ingredient from cannabis.
Right.
So they refer to it as this social tonic, and it's a hangover-free alternative to beer. You get some of the fun benefits out of it, just how beer makes you feel, when you drink a good alcoholic drink, but without the health issues, as many of those, and without the hangover.
So is it a beer or is it
well.
a seltzer?
It's basically more of like a seltzer.
Okay, so this is more like
of an
a
alternative.
White Claw,
yeah, exactly.
kind of a thing. Okay, got it.
So they started making these out of a Palo Alto garage, like a true tech company. This kind of stuff they're doing. They've grown quite a bit over time, and they also are like pointing out that hey. This isn't like this isn't the idea of like the stoner mentality of like go out and get as high as you possibly can.
Right, right.
But they also say no shade to the stoners, but this is an alternative for someone who wants the happy medium of kind of like in that direction without going too far, and then also not having the hangover part of it too. So they're working pretty hard at this. They like I said, they've continued to grow and built their business out. I will say though, I was looking at some of the potential options here of beverage choice, like flavors they have.
Oh no!
And this is my hang up a little bit here.
See, here we go. Yeah.
I'm not sure about some of these. There's a grapefruit rosemary. Not sure how I feel about the rosemary part of that. I like rosemary as a cooking ingredient. I don't know if I want it as
with grapefruit in a drink.
Grapefruit in a drink, but okay. Blood orange cardamom. All right, that one I can give you. The blood orange I like. Cardamom is a good flavor. I think
I don't know what cardamom is, but go ahead.
That can work. I think that can work. And the other one is a lemon lavender. So
oh geez. See, why do they gotta get bougie with these tastes? Just give me some wild cherry.
Exactly. I know. So I'm not sure about the flavors yet. But either way, they've got a good idea. They've run in a direction that is beneficial, and they do all kinds of fun social marketing around it too. There's as always, I'll have a link in the show notes to this, but they did a whole gag. People put out those around Halloween, their versions of the Spirit Halloween costumes.
Yes.
And they'll come up with something fun. So they put out one called Sexy Weed Soda, and it's just a girl wearing like a version of one of their cans basically, and it says includes water, bubbles, juice, agave, just a little bit of cannabis, does not include alcohol, hangovers, or the willpower required not to text your ex.
Nice.
So they're having fun with this too. So there you go. Maybe if you're looking for an alternative.
Well, and they're
they're
bucking the trend of startups that you and I have noticed. They actually have a vowel in their name. Did you say
that's a good point? Yeah, it's not just obviously
CNN.
They're shortening cannabis. They still got the shortened version of something. But they did. Yeah, you're right. They could have done like Kinbus or something.
Right.
CNBS or something like that. It's a good point. They left a vowel in, so they're already changing that game there.
Fair enough.
All right, that does it for us today. That's what's TEConnecting with us. John Whiteman from OmniQ, thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate having you on the show.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Hey, until next time, go out and find yourself a good place to park.
Yep.
And if you do, hang on to it because those are few and far between. But don't not so long that you get that boot on your car.
That's right. Yeah, you don't want
never have that happen. Don't ever want to have that happen. And as always, folks, please stay connected. TEConnect Podcast is brought to you by ELO. Dean kiosks they're everywhere these days.
They sure are.
They're inside.
Yes.
They're outside.
They're outside.
We just talked about outside type deployments.
This is true.
For stuff,
this
and parking,
Yep.
So, but how do you ensure that outdoor deployments are safe and they're usable in all conditions?
Yeah.
Well, ELO has the answer with their outdoor open frame monitor.
Aha.
ELO's 27-inch outdoor monitor boasting 1,500 nits of brightness and
that's bright.
IK10 vandal proof rating. I'm glad you know that.
Yes, that's bright.
Like, that sounds cool, but I don't actually know what that means. You, as a digital signage guy in your past, you know that stuff. They ensure 24/7 performance, even in direct sunlight. It's readable with polarized sunglasses. It thrives in extended temperatures. I mean, right now, talk about some extended temperatures.
Oh, yes. To the low side.
Yes, on the very low side right now. Ideal for payment systems, signage, and charging stations. This brilliant optically bonded weatherproof monitor features edge-to-edge glass for seamless outdoor enclosure integration. To provide unmitigated performance for day and night, the ambient light sensor automatically adjusts to display's brightness to optimize power consumption, extend the display's life, and enhance the viewing experience.
That's smart.
It really is. So with flexible installation options, touch-through PCAP functionality, and compatibility with ELO's backpack compute engine, the $27.99 open frame monitor is the perfect display for your next outdoor kiosk solution. Check the link in the show notes for more information or contact your BlueStar ELO representative.